Hola, buenos días.
Hola.
I'm
Hola.
uh,
53
I'm on a couple
grados.
minutes later. I had difficulty getting people off my 9 a.m. call. I was shoving them out the Okay. Bueno, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? How's everybody doing? ¿Sí? ¿Bien?
Bien.
Bien.
Ma-
Muy fresca en Illinois.
Hace
Muy
fresco,
fresca.
hace fresco.
Sí.
Pues es octubre, es normal, ¿no? Es normal, sí.
Ujú.
Aquí no sé, estamos a 80 grados ahorita. Right now we're just hit
Oh.
80. It's been very, very nice here. So
Nice. Sí.
we're at a good temperature. We'll just let a few more people ping in here. My computer didn't update late last night, and unbeknownst to me, everything on Zoom needed to update before I started pulling that up. So hopefully I don't have any glitches today. Bueno, espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you guys are well. We're going to work today with finishing up our questions about jobs. The last set of questions off of the Montessori video that piggybacked off of that. And then we're going to go a little bit into the fue and era thing. You may have some questions before we start that segment. That is fine. And okay, a ver. Bien. Bueno, vamos a empezar aquí. I'm going to show our questions here so that you know which items we are starting to work on. And pueden ver, you guys can see our questions here. See, bien? I think I need to make them a little bit bigger. Oh, there we go. Got to get my... Aquí vamos, sí. Hablamos del trabajo. Our first set of questions that piggybacked off of that Montessori video were actually about the video itself. But these are our questions that are more personal in nature. Son preguntas personales, ¿sí? No tienen que ver con el video. They don't really have to do with the video, ¿ok? Y aquí vamos a pensando en tus propias experiencias, thinking about your own experiences, ¿sí? En varios empleos, in different jobs. ¿Qué opinas? ¿Qué opinas? Is one of our three or four different ways, that people will have to ask, what do you think? ¿Qué opinas? What's your opinion? But what do you think? ¿Sí? En tu trabajo actual, y actual es current. Actual indica el presente. Bien, en tu trabajo actual o en un empleo en el pasado para los jubilados, for those who are retired. ¿Cuáles eran aspectos positivos del trabajo? What were, and notice, we're talking about you describing tasks or atmosphere or culture of the workplace, lo que sea, whatever it may be, or nature of the work. ¿Cuáles eran aspectos positivos del trabajo? Y para mí, un aspecto siempre que era muy, algo muy positivo, era trabajar con muchas personas con varias personalidades, siempre es algo positivo. A mí me gusta trabajar con muchas personas, ¿sí? Prefiero trabajar con personas más que trabajar sola. Bien. ¿Qué opinan ustedes? What do you guys think? ¿Cuáles eran aspectos positivos del trabajo? Diana, sí.
Me encantaba mi trabajo, cada día era diferente. Tenía muchos reuniones y muchos proyectos. Nunca no me aburrí.
Nunca me aburrí. I never got bored. ¿Sí? Eso es. Bien, bien. Fantástico. Sí. Muchas personas, hay personas que prefieren tener una rutina con la repetición del trabajo cada día y otras personas prefieren tener una variedad de actividades, ¿no? Bueno, hay más ideas. Bueno, sí, Carrie.
Fui en un gerente de proyectos. Yo gustaba que estuvo un método a seguir, pero cada proyecto fue diferente.
Ok. Te gustaban los proyectos, pero te gustaban los proyectos diferentes.
Sí,
Sí, el cambio de tener un proyecto que no es lo mismo que otro proyecto. Eso,
sí.
bien, bien. Bueno, hay otras ideas. Bueno,
Me-
Marcos y Jan, ¿sí?
Un aspecto positivo fue que viajaba a muchos lugares, incluso en Europa y Asia.
Asia, exacto, muy
Asia.
bien. Sí, sí, hay muchos trabajos que requieren que las personas viajen y es interesante trabajar en muchos lugares en otros países. Muy bien, sí. Entonces, sí,
I have a question about how I phrase that. So I somehow combine right there in about 3 words, preterite and imperfecto, which I thought is right, but because I'm saying a positive aspect was in preterite, as in, okay, that's all, that job was, and it started and ended, but that I was able to, or I used to travel a lot, viajaba.
perfecto. Sí, tienes razón. Tienes razón. That is a great thing. And I had a student last week in a different class bring this up, and it was a great thing. I had never really thought to explain it that way. He said, so when I speak and I split things up into imperfecto and pretérito, are they like reverse engineering it? Is a person that I'm talking to, are they taking that information, those two different tenses, and are they like putting a different meaning into those two? And that is actually exactly right. So the meaning they would be getting was that job is done, pretérito, but I used to do these things. I used to travel a lot. So in essence, your listener does kind of, work it backwards and say, oh, okay, this you used to do a lot, but now, that job is over. But in the process of that job, you used to do this many, many times. And that's exactly right. You are feeding in either that repetition or, that idea this job is done, but now this activity repeated. You're feeding that idea in by using the different tenses. Muy bien, bien hecho. Well done. Bueno, Jan, ¿tienes algo?
Me gusto mucho mis colegas. Trabajé con gente muy interesante.
Bien, bueno, entonces muchas veces tenemos una atmósfera o colegas interesantes, colegas que colaboran muy bien, colleagues who collaborate, work together well, ¿sí? Para decir en español, work together, you could say trabajar juntos, but there's a word that is very, very much preferred in Spanish to talk about working together, and that is colaborar. Collaborate. And I think collaborate has kind of a different connotation in English, generally. Yeah. Collaboration is like cooperating more, but colaborar is pitching in, working together. It's much more of a kind of an inclusive feel in Spanish. So you'll hear people use colaborar and probably as much as, if not more than, trabajar juntos. Okay. Trabajar juntos might just mean that you're physically together, but colaborar means you're in sync with those people. Colaborar. Bien. Bueno, gracias, Jan. Bien, hay otra idea. Bueno, Kathleen.
Ok, cuando estaba en el colegio, era socorrista en una piscina. Un aspecto positivo tenía que estar mucho en el aire libre. Pero un aspecto negativa es tenía demasiado sol y es peligro por mi piel.
Sí. Hay que ponerse mucha crema solar,
Sí.
mucha crema protectiva cuando trabajas al aire libre. Eso es, sí. Entiendo, sí.
Lifeguard is socorrista. I had to look that up. So.
Guardavidas, creo.
Okay.
No sé, momentito. Voy a buscar. Actually, what I'm thinking about is probably more of a thing for, the actual thing they throw out to you,
Oh,
which is not the same necessarily as a lifeguard, a person who is standing watch. Bien, a ver. Bien, sí. Salvavidas, sí, salvavidas. Guardavidas, hay dos términos. Guardavidas, okay? Guarda, together with the word vidas, lives, sí, guardavidas. O, momentito, voy a ponerlo aquí. Bien. Guardavidas o salvavidas. I saw socorrista, but I've never heard anybody use socorrista, a helper. Salvavidas, sí. Salvavidas, guay, ¿dónde está? Flipped into a different word. Sí, salvavidas y guardavidas. See, and we're just putting two words together. Portmanteau, sí, no sé, sí, es el término en inglés, sí. Salvavidas o guardavidas, that's the one I generally hear people use. Okay, bien. Excelente. Hay otra idea de aspectos positivos del trabajo. Trish.
I hope this is right. Cuando estaba un auxiliar de vuelo, los aspectos positivos del trabajo eran I think it's a visitar diferentes ciudades y los beneficios del médico y vuelo.
Ok, sí. Cuando era, we use era with jobs, not estaba, but era, sí, eso es, sí, bien, bien, bien. Sí, es un aspecto muy obvio con volar. Es muy emocionante volar a otras ciudades y otros países, ¿sí? Y ver todo y comer en restaurantes nuevos y todo eso, ¿sí? Bien. Fantástico, gracias. Pat, ¿tienes algo?
Los aspectos positivos eran la gente que colaboraba, los políticas que necesitábamos abordar y la elaboración de leyes.
De leyes, ok, bien.
I like the people I worked with. I like the issues that I worked with and the policies, and I like the legislative process.
Sí, sí. And when you talk about policies, a word for policy, oddly, is política. Política is, or políticas, plural, sí, which sounds like political, which it can be too, but, políticas indicates policies. Bueno, hay otras ideas. Any other ideas? O siguiente. Siguiente. Sí. Con los aspectos positivos, también tenemos cosas negativas o aspectos negativos, ¿sí? ¿Cuáles eran cosas negativas del trabajo? Lo opuesto, the opposite. Algo. Sí, Terry.
Okay.
Yo,
Go ahead.
Oh, perdón. Terry first, and then
Okay.
Diana. See if Diana had something. Sí.
Una cosa negativa de mi trabajo era yo estaba solo empleado profesional femenino en mi oficina. Pero los hombres estaban muy amables.
Ok.
I don't know if
Entonces, eras la única mujer,
that's
la única mujer que trabajaba en esa oficina.
única.
Ok.
UNIQUE, like unique.
No, única. Única. Voy a escribirlo aquí. Única se escriba. Única.
Okay,
¿Sí? Bien.
bien.
Yo era la única mujer. I was the only woman. Perdón. Única, ¿sí? Sola es alone or only. Ok, por ejemplo, solo. Yo estaba sola. I was alone, meaning by myself, right? Or I can take that word solo and I can use it with a verb as an adverb, okay? Yo estaba sola. I was by myself. I was alone. So sola is describing me. But I can also take the word solo and use it with a verb like this. Trabajo solo 3 días a la semana. I work only 3 days of the week. See? Tiene, see, and it might be solo or solamente. It might be either one of those, yeah. But a lot of times when you want to say, I'm the only one out of a group, yeah. Era la única mujer. I was the only woman.
Okay, thank you.
Bien. And sometimes in English, we do say that word sole. I was the sole female in the office. Yeah. But única, normalmente. Bien, bien. Ok. Sí, a veces es difícil ser la única persona. Bueno, Diana, and you're on mute. So para que sepas, so you know.
Sí. A veces mi trabajo era difícil porque algunas personas no quieren probar métodos nuevos.
Todas las personas. Okay, otra vez. I'm processing that a little bit. ¿Puedes repetir un poquito?
A veces mi trabajo era difícil porque algunas personas no quieren probar métodos nuevos.
Oh, okay. No querían probar. No
Sí.
querían probar nuevos métodos. They didn't want to
Nuevos.
try new methods. Ah,
Mm.
sí. No querían probar. Sí, no querían probar. Now, let's take that and let's do a little mini lesson based on that idea, because this is going to show you how querer is a special verb that really, there we go. There are all my things that have changed that now suddenly I don't know where to find stuff anymore. Okay. Querer es en pretérito, un en pretérito y en imperfecto. Probably in your everyday conversations, this imperfecto quería is probably what you'll usually use. But this is a good illustration of how querer is one of the small group of verbs, and it is a small group. I want to say maybe 8 or so things. Querer shifts in meaning quite markedly if you choose preterite or imperfect. And I'll show you a little bit how. Algunas personas no, wow, my fingers are not working typing today. No, algunas personas no querían probar nuevos métodos. Some people did not want to try out, and probably a better word for sí, tratar o intentar. Probar is a little more like taste or trying clothing on. But anyway, no querían tratar nuevos métodos. No querían tratar. They did not want to try. Okay. Here is the didn't want. And usually in English, when we're expressing an idea of didn't want, this is what most of the time we're going to use, didn't want. No querían, imperfecto. Here is how querer changes very drastically with pretérito. You could take this idea and use it in pretérito. No quisieron. Tengo que engrandecer. Gotta enlarge this. No quisieron tratar. Changes the meaning to refused to try. Which is really different from didn't want to. Yeah.
Also correct.
Also correct. Right. But now, so in other words, yeah, both of those ideas of no quisieron tratar or no querían tratar are both correct grammatically, but they put a different spin on the idea you're communicating. Yeah. So if what you're emphasizing is more the refused, pretérito is your better choice. But a lot of times when we're just talking back and forth, the idea that is probably a little more common is this imperfecto. And querer, there are a few verbs in Spanish. Saber is one, querer is another, and there are a few other. Well, actually, tener is kind of that way too. Tener, definitely. I hope to carve out a little time for that. Where there are some verbs in Spanish that the actual meaning of that verb shifts around somewhat depending on which tense you choose. That doesn't happen with all verbs in Spanish, but it does with that verb querer. ¿Ok? Bien. Bueno, hay otra idea de cosas negativas del trabajo. Questions up here again. Sí, Carrie and then Trish.
Yo no siempre tenía los recursos humanos a hacer el proyecto.
Sí, no tenía los recursos. No siempre tenía los recursos. I did not always have the resources. Sí. Muchas veces dependemos de un presupuesto. Many times we depend on a budget, un presupuesto, ¿sí? Cuando hay un presupuesto en un departamento, en una oficina, ¿sí? Necesitamos fondos. We need funds. We need funding, ¿sí? Necesitamos fondos para hacer el trabajo. Y recursos es buena palabra. Recursos indica resources. Bueno, bien, sí, perfecto. Es un problema continuo en muchos trabajos. Bueno, Trish.
Okay. Excuse me. Las cosas negativas del trabajo eran las largas horas y servir las comidas calientes.
Me parece muy difícil servirles a muchas personas en muy poco tiempo, ¿sí?
Y
En el aire.
y las comidas especiales.
Oh, sí. Sí, comida sin glutina, comida comida vegetariana, etcétera. Comida vegana. Wow, muy complicado, sí. Es como tener la cena de Thanksgiving en casa con mucha gente y esta persona es vegana, esta persona es vegetariana, esta persona sí sigue la dieta keto y hay que servir una comida a todos. Eso es, sí, muy difícil. Me gusta esa idea. Sí, bien. Hay otra idea de aspectos negativos. Bueno, Jan.
En 2006, mi oficina se mudó de Tempe al centro de Phoenix. Y no me gustó manejar hasta la oficina durante las horas pico.
Oh, sí.
Mucho tráfico.
Sí. Rush hour. Sí. Jen, ¿puedes repetir las palabras para decir rush hour?
Sí. Las horas pico.
Eso es. Sí. Peak hour. ¿Ya? Sí. es como se dice rush hour. Sí, manejar hasta tarda más tiempo, tarda mucho tiempo manejar a Phoenix y hay más tráfico siempre, ¿sí? Yo trabajo como 2 o 3 años en Tempe y manejar desde aquí en Fountain Hills a Tempe, bien. No era tan difícil, pero sí, pero sería más difícil a manejar aún más lejos a Phoenix. Bueno, a ver, entonces hay otras cosas negativas. ¿Algo más o siguiente? Siguiente. Bueno, a ver. Ahora, esto es, this is a little more esoteric, I guess. You may have fewer ideas on this, but había una filosofía, porque ella hablaba de una filosofía de trabajar con los niños en el método Montessori, ¿sí? Hay una filosofía específica o método específico en ese empleo y tenía que seguir métodos exactamente. This is really, I guess, more the point here, this second question. Tenías, wouldn't have it, tenías que seguir métodos exactamente. Did you have to follow very exact processes? Diana dice que no. No, ya no tenía que seguir métodos muy estrictos.
Pero, cuando una librarian,
Bibliotecaria.
bibliotecaria, sí, necesita seguir métodos exactamente.
Sí, y entiendo, sí, porque tienes que saber dónde están todos los materiales y todo eso, y sí, eso. Para ubicar, to locate, para ubicar cosas y saber la ubicación, no location of items. Sí, eso es más complicado. Bueno, algo más. ¿Tenías que seguir métodos exactamente? Marcos, me imagino que sí.
Yeah,
Tenías un empleo muy técnico, ¿no?
sí. I'm going to say a sentence here, but I'm going to need help with one word, I think.
Okay.
Okay. La seguridad y ambiente eran las filosofías más importantes.
Más importante, sí.
My question is, it doesn't sound like the right word, but ambiente is what came up when I looked for environment.
Environment, sí. Environment, when we talk about like ecology, is ambiente, but we put it together with one other word, el medio ambiente, el medio ambiente. And I'll type that in the little box here. El medio ambiente. That is the environment. Ambiente is environment. And I'll show you the difference between medio ambiente and ambiente. It's just a little short jump from that one term to adding the other little extra term to it. So, ambiente, por ejemplo. Tengo un restaurante italiano que me gusta mucho porque me gusta el ambiente del restaurante, ¿sí? Me relajo cuando me siento porque me gusta el ambiente del restaurante. I enjoy the environment of that restaurant. And that just means my
that's like the ambiance,
the ambiance, exactly,
which
exacto,
is what that word
ambiance.
looks like.
Okay. Sí, es así. It is that way. So now when we want to just plug in the idea more of environment, meaning, hola, Nora. When we want to plug in the idea of the environment more in an ecological point of view, okay, it is el medio ambiente. Por ejemplo, sí, la contaminación, pollution, la contaminación es gran problema en nuestro medio ambiente. Pollution is a big problem in our environments. So medio ambiente means refers really more to the outdoor environment. Eso es, sí. La naturaleza. ¿Bien? Sí. Muy bien. Hay otra idea aquí con seguir métodos exactamente. Muchas veces cuando trabajé en el colegio aquí en mi pueblo, muchas veces varios estudiantes tenían problemas con entender o problemas con aprender. Y yo tenía, y había un plan, and there'd be a plan. Había un plan para un plan específico que yo tenía que seguir con ese estudiante. Por ejemplo, una vez tenía un estudiante sordo. I had a deaf student. Tenía un estudiante sordo en mi clase de español y tenía que evaluar el estudiante durante las pruebas o los exámenes de escucha. No podía evaluar el estudiante con exámenes de escucha, obviamente, porque era sordo. Because he was deaf, I could not give him a listening test, ¿sí? No, tenía que evaluar ese estudiante solamente con leer, con hablar, con escribir y obvio. Pero otras veces eran cosas más sutiles. They were things a little more subtle. Por ejemplo, si tenía que darle al estudiante apuntes extras, o tenía que darle al estudiante más tiempo para completar o terminar un proyecto así. Y ok. Siguiente aquí. Ok. La última pregunta fue, the last question was, ¿qué querías cambiar cuando tomaste otro empleo? What did you want to change when you switched to a different job, when you took another job? ¿Qué querías cambiar? What did you want to change when you took another job? Yo quería, yo quería tener menos estrés. Una vez trabajé, y no era empleo, y sí, no fue un empleo en una escuela. Fue un trabajo con una compañía y tenía mucho estrés porque el jefe de la compañía hacía cosas quasi legales. He was doing some quasi legal thing. Y tenía mucho estrés porque yo sabía que él no seguía la ley muy estrictamente con contratos federales.
Mm.
Y
Caray.
sí, sí, entonces no quería trabajar con ese jefe, sí, que no no siguió la ley muy estrictamente. Hay otras cosas. Carrie, sí, bien.
Me gusta mi trabajo actual. Soy jubilada. Yo no, and I'm not sure about this way. Yo no cambiaría nada.
No cambiaría nada. I would not change anything. No cambiaría. And I'll
Con mi-
type in the little word, and you'll notice, and this is one of the things that actually, once you get used to Spanish, is kind of a nice thing. You already know this has to do with change. Yeah. When you see cambiaría or you hear cambiaría, you already know that has to do with change. You're just thinking to yourself, what time limit is she talking about? And that cambiaría, which is like, wait a minute. Cambiar means to change. How come she did not take off the AR? This is what we call a conditional tense. And here's what it means: would change. It's kind of a hypothetical sort of tense, yeah? Would change, meaning you don't really have that option, but if you could, yeah? No cambiaría nada, would change. No cambiaría nunca, or nada, no cambiaría nada. I would not change anything. Bueno, otra idea. Hay otra idea. Sé que querías cambiar. What did you want to change when you went to Trish? Sí.
Quería trabajar donde no tuviera que viajar y estar lejos de mi familia.
Sí, para no tener que viajar y estar lejos de la familia. Sí. Es un placer viajar, pero a veces con una familia es muy difícil viajar y estar muy lejos de la familia. Exacto. Bueno, hay otra idea aquí. Pat, sí.
Quería trabajar con políticas nuevas.
Ok, bien, bien. Bueno, hay más. A veces hay personas que
What was Pat's
querían
last word
cambiar
there?
de jefe. Some people just want to change their boss. Que querían cambiar de jefe, ¿no?
Pat, I didn't understand exactly what you said.
Oh,
I missed some of that.
oh, okay. I would change jobs because I wanted to work with different issues.
Oh, okay.
Sí.
And what was the word that you used, the Spanish word?
Políticas.
Política, we think of it as a description. I think this is before you came in, Nora. Política talks about policies or
Oh, okay.
issues that we work with. Yeah. Política can mean political or a politician, but in this context, yeah, it would mean the issues or the policies that you work with. Bien,
Great.
¿sí?
Gracias.
Bueno, a ver. En el trabajo de mi esposo, él siempre quería tener proyectos que eran interesantes para él y quería resolver problemas difíciles. Quería resolver, he wanted to solve, quería resolver problemas difíciles, porque para él para él tener un problema que es muy difícil, muy complicado de entender, es un reto, it's a challenge, es un reto, ¿sí? Y resolver el reto es algo que le interesa, something that really interests him, ¿sí?
I'll try
Okay.
one.
Bueno, Terry, sí.
Okay. Quiero cambiar mi empleo porque mi oficina movió a la Norte Carolina. La agua de Huracán Katrina inundada la ciudad y mi oficina en New Orleans.
Wow. Okay. And so moved their offices. Se mudó.
Se movió.
It moved.
Reflexive.
Sí, se mudó. It moved. Sí, la oficina se mudó a otro lugar. Sí, sí. Wow, qué complicado.
Sí.
Y con todos los empleos tenían que moverse a otra ciudad o
No,
pocos.
hago porque mi esposo tiene un trabajo mucho mejor.
Mejor.
Porque yo trabajo I don't know how to say this. Tiempo half. I worked part-time.
Tiempo parcial, sí, tiempo parcial, sí, sí, part-time, sí, o medio tiempo, sí.
Y tenía 4 niños en la escuela.
Wow.
Nueva Orleans.
Wow. 4.
Sí.
Sí, es muy difícil. Y alguien tiene que cuidar a los niños. Somebody's got to take care of the kids, ¿no? Alguien tiene que cuidar de los niños, ¿sí? Cuidar a los niños, sí. Es muy importante. Bueno, ok. ¿Hay otra idea aquí o no? No, ok. Siguiente. So, usted tenía muy buenas ideas. You guys had some really good ideas. So let's shift gears a little bit. Ooh, remember this video? See, this is one of the trickiest, toughest, hardest things to think about in that flip from pretérito to imperfecto. And that is this one verb of ser. Ser, and we're really looking at this in just that one form. Either era, it was, or fue, it was. Okay, so ser is very irregular in preterite. Fue, it was, meaning you're talking about a situation or a thing, an object, something. Could be abstract, could be concrete. Okay, but ser en pretérito, very irregular, fue, it was. Versus ser imperfecto, oddly enough, one of the few irregulars in imperfecto, era. So when do we use era? Meaning, having more of the idea of it used to be, because era imperfecto is going to be description, and there is la clave. There's one of the little keys that will be helpful. Era is going to be a description, much more strictly, and fue is going to limit something in time. They both mean it was. And the funny little tag she's got in the middle of that video is, all I want to say is it was. That's all I want to do. Okay. And it is tough, but it is kind of, there are a lot of situations with using ser in pretérito versus imperfecto where really there's not a clear-cut line always with this is right and this is wrong. Sometimes it's going to straddle those two worlds. And this is why it is a tough one. So what was the idea that you took away from that video? Like any big idea?
Marilyn,
Yes.
me gusta mucho su pelo cambiado de esta mujer.
Con la peluca, yeah, her wig thing. And a lot of them use wigs to kind of do the role-playing thing. Sí. Tiene buen sentido de humor. She's got a good sense of humor. See? The big takeaway is that this era word is and she's contrasting with this first part you see of la fiesta fue buena versus la fiesta era buena. It is kind of hard to say that one of those is right all the time and one of those is wrong all the time. I mean, people may absolutely kind of do a flip-flop between those two. Ser is a tough one, but people are sending you kind of a signal using one or the other, okay? So la fiesta fue buena is probably a little more common because fiesta is an event. And with events, with an activity that happened, it may be a little more common to put that into the camp of fue. Okay? So the signal somebody is telling you is that event is over. Yeah. So it doesn't really make it, strictly speaking, wrong to say la fiesta era buena. It's not strictly speaking wrong. It doesn't really confuse the other person. The only thing I would say is if you say something like la fiesta era buena with imperfecto, because it's an event, now they're going to expect you to go into giving more information, giving more description. So if all you say is la fiesta era buena, you're kind of leaving your listener hanging, waiting for, well, what about it? So it'll be a little more common because fiesta is an event to maybe use fue. And it might just be the statement, it's a thing like the water cooler talk we used to have in the office. See, la boda fue divertida. The wedding was fun. And that's all you really say. Somebody asking you about your weekend and you just say, it went this way. It went well. It didn't go well. It was fun. It was entertaining. And then you're not going into a long rambling explanation. Okay. If it's an event, and it's a short description, a short evaluation of how that event went, probably more pretérito. But if we're describing a person in the past, or an object, or a place in the past, or what an environment, what a town, what a city, what a neighborhood used to be like, those are not events. So imperfecto will make more sense, okay? So that's the short, quick dichotomy, the 50-50 rule, right? If you're talking about an event, pretérito might be a little more appropriate, whereas describing a thing or a human being, imperfecto will be more appropriate. Okay, that's the big takeaway from that video.
Could you
And
use an example with another form like the nosotros form for fuimos? Like,
okay,
that's not an event. So how would I ever
now
use fuimos?
notice with that video, they kept it pretty strictly to fue or era, because
Right.
many times we just want to say it was.
Sure.
Okay. But if you project it into human beings, yeah. Okay. So your question is, what happens with something like if we don't have fue or era? What if we have fuimos or éramos?
Right.
Okay.
I can understand éramos, like we were happy on vacations when we were little or something like that, or.
Well, but that's going into ser en estar. We were happy, how we felt.
Oh, that's right.
And so Nora, your question was, it really is going to bleed out further into that ser en
Okay.
estar thing, which, yes, there is another video for that.
That's next week.
Okay.
Okay, good.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly the point. So, okay, but let's take it to, let's concoct a different kind of description here, or a different idea here. Whoop. Yeah.
I don't want to
What
put
if-
you on the spot.
No, that's okay.
You can think
What
about
if
it.
instead of that, just the fue and era, what if we expand it to talking about people very specifically? So I could say, por ejemplo, mi abuelo fue arquitecto.
Okay.
My grandpa was an architect, meaning he really isn't anymore. He's either retired or dead, or yeah. If I choose that fue, right? Mi abuelo fue arquitecto. It means it's over and done with. And I'm sending you a signal. And are you kind of stepping back and thinking, oh, does that person mean grandpa is no longer with us? Maybe. That grandpa is retired, and I'm not really I'm just telling you what he used to do, what he did, or what he did when he was in his working years. Yeah, probably that. But it is not strictly wrong to say mi abuelo era arquitecto, right? People may use either verb there to talk about what grandpa. So, mi abuelo era arquitecto, the signal you're sending to the person you're talking to is more like, my grandpa used to be an architect. The signal I'm sending here is that job is done and over with, or maybe he passed away and is no longer alive. But I'm putting more of a period on that. Here, I'm doing more just an open description. Okay? Era arquitecto. That, and it's very subtle difference. It's very subtle. Okay? Could you put this into a nosotros form? Fuimos, and yeah. Okay. So here's how I could use fuimos. We were. This one is maybe a little less common, but I could say, por ejemplo, fuimos estudiantes fuimos estudiantes en la universidad entre 1976 y 1980. If somebody is going to limit what they were, what their status was in a pretty fixed time period,
That makes sense.
then they're likely to frame it like this. Fuimos estudiantes en la universidad entre 1976 y 1980. Okay? But if I am not pegging it to a specific time, right? And I'm just talking about what we used to be, right? Éramos estudiantes. éramos estudiantes en la universidad. Somebody says, hey, they're talking about your old friend. Your old friend. Oh, we used to be students at the
Oh.
university. We used to be. And I'm not pegging it to a time. I mean, I kind of am, but it's not specific like this. You'll hear this more when they're being very pointed about when that happened. But if it's just a description of, well, what are you guys to each other? You know, you're obviously palling around with this group of people. Oh, we used to be together we were old college buddies. That's more the idea you're getting across. It'll be éramos.
That's a good example.
Does that
for
make
me.
sense?
Yeah.
See? Okay. So that's the idea. Right? Fue and era. It is, it's kind of a bugaboo. It is. Vale, bien. Okay. So let's take a look at some of these little drills we had. We'll see how far we get with this. Now, I had some people I used this with last week, and they found this a little bit tough. So if you felt this was tough, don't feel badly, but I want you to at least get a little taste of it, a little feel for it. Uy, perdón. It needed to really make that go away. Let's see if it lets me. Mejor, better. Okay, we're going to take a look at this. Número uno, this number one scenario here. And these don't have to be connected ideas. Okay, if you just want to do simple example, disconnected, different topic, example, different topic, example, you can do that. But, you know, if you can pull together a couple of things, and if it's not 3 or 4, if it's less than that, that's fine too. But mix it up and maybe talk about an event, general description. Yeah. Okay, so, mi ejemplo, ¿sí? La reunión de ayer fue un desastre. Yesterday's meeting was a mess, a disaster. Okay? And when I use that example, I'm talking about reunión, which is an event. And if I want to say this meeting was a real flop, yeah, la reunión de ayer fue un desastre. Fue is probably a better choice because it's an event that happened ayer, yesterday, and now it's done with. And if I want to signal that thing is de ayer from yesterday, fue is probably a better choice. See? But now I'm going to elaborate on that. Okay. So first I just say this meeting was a flop. Okay. Fue un desastre. El proyector para mi presentación no funcionó. The projector did not work. Nadie sabía arreglarlo. Nobody knew how to fix it. Después de la reunión tenía que imprimir toda la información para enviarla al grupo. I had to print out all the information for everybody and send it to them. And notice, la reunión de ayer fue un desastre. This event was a flop, but if I'm talking about that situation of I had to do all this other stuff, era molesto perder tanto tiempo. It was annoying. That situation, which is not an event, but just all the things I had to do. Era molesto. It was bothersome. It was annoying. It was vexing. Era molesto perder tanto tiempo. It was annoying to waste so much time. Lose the time, but waste it. See? Bien? Okay. So, you don't have to connect them all together like I did there. They could be separate ideas. Do you have any ideas of era and fue? Era and fue. Any ideas? And if that was tough, I understand. Kathleen, let's take you first.
Okay. Okay. Am I mute? No, okay. En el año pasado, mi hija fue en la universidad por sus estudios de posgrado. Era muy nervioso porque pensó que sería difícil. So I wasn't sure. This was a period of time, last year, she was in the university. And then whether I should say fue or era, she was very nervous. Was that
She was
fue?
at university?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, we can't use she wasn't the university. It'll be location, right?
Okay.
Now, you could
Is it
say
era?
you
Okay.
could say she was a student.
Oh, okay.
El año pasado. Now, if you want to emphasize that she was a student just that 1 year, then it would be okay to say ella fue estudiante de posgrado.
Okay.
She was a grad student. Posgrado just means postgraduate. Yeah. So graduate studies, see? But probably a little more common to say, even with the año pasado, era estudiante. But if you want to say she was at the university, then you got to flip to estar.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, estaba en la universidad, estuvo en la universidad un año, right? You're going to hear estuvo en la universidad really only if you limit it in time, like un año.
Okay.
Or 2 años. More normally, even if you said last year she was at the university, was at, that's going to be locations, right? And
Right.
the more usual thing to hear is estaba en la universidad. She was at university, because it's kind of a long process. Yeah. But she was at university. If you really want to plant the idea of only that 1 year, estuvo. Okay.
And what about the next sentence of fue or era muy nervioso?
Was it how you felt?
Yeah, it was how she felt.
Oh, or how she
That
felt?
would- that
Then
should
we
be
can't use
era.
said. We've got to
Yeah.
use.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how she felt, and this is going to follow a more strict kind of protocol. Estar is what we use to talk about feelings. And in the past, feelings in the past are usually imperfecto. So how do you think we're going to use estar to say she was nervous?
Estaba muy nervioso.
Estaba nerviosa. Estaba muy nerviosa. She was really nervous. Estaba muy nerviosa de ser estudiante nuevo. She was nervous being a new student. O algo así. ¿Sí? Estaba nerviosa de empezar estudios de postgraduado, ¿sí? Postgraduate. She was, nervous doing a graduate class. Así. Bien? And this is a tough one. So if you struggled with this a little bit, don't feel bad. Bien? I'll get you a video for next week on that. Just like this one video did fue and era one on estuvo versus estaba, because that's kind of another big can of worms we need to open. Okay, otra idea. I know I saw some hands go up. Perdón. See, a bunch. Okay, Nora, because you came on late, let's give you some screen time.
Okay. So this was a simple sentence, but I wasn't positive. I wanted to say nuestra reserva era a las 6, because I have an old note that said time, I said would usually be era, but it was a reservation and it was a specific time. So do I want to say nuestra
Buena
reserva?
pregunta. Our
fue
reservation
a las seis.
was at 6.
Six.
Imperfecto. When we're talking about time, yeah.
Okay,
Time is an odd thing.
that's what I was
La
wondering what my
reserva
notes meant.
era a
on
las
that.
6. Era a las
Okay.
6. Was it? Sí.
Okay, and it should be plural, eran, because las is, hours is always a plural. A las seis, eran a las seis,
Oh,
or is
but
it
you're talking
eran?
about the reservation.
Yeah,
La reservación era a las 6.
okay,
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. I see where you're going here. Let's take a look at this.
it wasn't a 6-hour reservation, it was just at
Questions are
6.
coming up with this. So this is good. This is a good thing we're doing. Okay. Vamos a ver. Let's take a quick look. Uy, 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 uy. Now that they changed my screen up. Bien. La reserva. Uy. Let me see if I can get rid of this. God, they changed up where. Aquí. Okay, mejor, better. Oh, they changed where they put my stuff with my updates. Okay. La reserva, the reservation, era a las 6. And the a las 6 just tells us at 6 o'clock. And that's not strictly, well, okay, let's take a look. There's a difference between saying la reserva era a las 6, the reservation was at 6, and eran las 6. It was 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
there you go. That is strictly speaking, telling time. And your idea of shouldn't it be plural? Well, if I say it was 6 o'clock, then it's really, really, really strict. Right?
yes,
This sentence up here, it kind of depends. Somebody could say la reserva fue a las 6. And they're just kind of telling you, well, that reservation is done, over with, right?
that's the.
Either one
the
might
person
work
is
for
saying,
that.
You're late, it was at 6.
Yeah,
know,
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Okay,
But if I am telling time in the past, Spanish is kind of strict about that. If you want to say it was 6 o'clock when something else happened, see? Por ejemplo, eran las 6. Eran las 6 cuando llegamos al restaurante para comer. It was
okay.
6 o'clock when we got to the restaurant to eat. Okay.
Okay,
That it was 6 o'clock part has to go into imperfecto. It's just something that Spanish does. It's just what they do. Telling time in the past, which is it was 6 o'clock, what that means, goes into imperfecto. It's just what it does. Okay. Vale.
and then I'll just tell my 1 second little one, I won't go any further. La mesa fue listo a 6.
Table was
The table
ready.
was ready at 6.
Okay.
La mesa fue listo.
Well,
was-
let's think about it. Are you describing how that table looked, was set up?
Yeah, I don't know. We were ready to sit down. They let us sit there at 6 or something. Kind of.
Okay. La mesa estaba lista.
Oh,
Estar listo means to be ready.
condition. Yeah, a star condition. It was
This sadly opens that can of worms of ser estar again.
ready. Okay, next week.
La semana que viene, yeah.
So
But that's
Mary,
okay.
I just have a question.
Sí.
So we just talked about how time is always imperfecto. What about weather? The weather, is it also imperfecto?
Es buena pregunta. That's a good question. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Excelente. What about weather? Well, if you are talking about weather just to describe, probably imperfecto. But, here is where one of my friends from my Wednesday evening session said, do people in their brain reverse engineer the meaning when you talk to them? They might. If your idea is to talk about a weather event rather than a description, then it may go into pretérito. And let's look at how that might sound. You want to say, wow, it was cool yesterday morning. It was cool. Is that more painting painting a picture, painting a feeling, or is that an event kind of thing? It was cool outside. It's more of a description of how you felt or how it felt outside, right? Hacía fresco. Hacía fresco. Wow, it was, and we need to use hacer there. Well, we don't have to. You know what? You might hear people, estaba fresco. They might use either one of those verbs legitimately to say it felt cool outside. Estaba fresco or hacía fresco. Both of those are appropriate. Both are correct. Both are understood. Our goal is to be understood. Hacía fresco, estaba fresco. Muy bien. Okay. Vale. But what if you wanted to say, wow, it started to rain. It's weather, but it started to rain is emphasizing a beginning point, more of an event. So whenever somebody says it started to rain, it's always pretérito. Empezó a llover. Empezó a llover. See? Again? It started to, because we're really emphasizing the beginning point of the raindrops. And that needs to go into pretérito. Let's be a little more morphy, changey, fuzzy. What happens with just that verb llover? To rain. Does it make a difference if I put it into imperfecto versus pretérito? Well, it might. Llovió, llovía mucho would mean, it would carry with it the meaning of it was raining a lot. It was raining a lot. Llovía mucho. It was raining a lot. And you're probably going to add other ideas onto that simple statement of llovía mucho. So it'll probably, people are going to be waiting for more information, like llovía mucho, hacía frío, no me gustaba el tiempo para nada. I didn't like the weather at all. You're going to add more information with that imperfecto. But llover might want to just indicate that something happened and is over. Like, llovió ayer. It rained yesterday, and that's all you're saying about it. Llovió ayer. It rained yesterday. And boom. Probably not more description there. Just the fact that this happened and it's not raining anymore. And you're not going to say a whole lot more about it. Then pretérito might be more appropriate. So what's more correct? Llovió ayer or llovía mucho ayer. I could even add ayer to that sentence. They're both correct. It's just that llovía, you're going to probably give them more information about what else happened that day. And this is just stating the fact that it rained yesterday. That's over and done. Now the sun is probably out and we're done with that. So it carries connotations with it. Sí, Nora.
I have some ancient notes about ser says describes the climate. So if I'm talking about Arizona, it was hot those years. Would I use era? Era's caliente or something like that? Or is that an old note of mine totally
If you use
off
the
wall
word
here?
clima or tiempo, which are both words for weather,
Okay.
you might say el clima era muy desagradable. Wow, it was a really unpleasant weather.
Okay.
Okay. And it's not pegged to a real time period, but just whenever.
Okay.
If it's still description, imperfecto. This is one of those things where with weather, you might have a foot in each region of pretérito and imperfecto. But the pretérito is going to indicate over with, done, just this is what happened. Right? Whereas if I'm describing you might say, por ejemplo, antes de la época del cambio climático, before the time of climate change, ¿sí? El clima de Arizona era más agradable.
Okay.
The weather la clima de Arizona era más agradable. The climate was more pleasant, was more agreeable before climate change started, por ejemplo, ¿sí? And you're just describing it. Imperfecto, probably. Descriptions are going to stay pretty much in that imperfecto world.
One more
Sí,
thing.
Terry.
What if you gave a specific year? The climate was nicer last summer.
I want to say last summer was a bad one.
Okay.
Because this is what happened here, yeah? Fue un verano horrible. Fue un verano de mucho calor. ¿Sí?
Mm-hmm.
And let's take a look at this helpful verb, because this hacer thing is, este verano hizo mucho calor. If I want to emphasize that this last summer was a real stinker, ¿sí? Este verano en 2023 hizo mucho calor. It was a super hot summer in 2023. What I am telling you is I am pegging it to this summer, and I am pegging it to this 3-month thing, junio, julio, agosto was a really super hot one. It'll be very common to hear people take hacer and say, it was really hot this particular summer of this particular year. Pretérito makes more sense because I am pegging it to this particular year as a severe weather event. See, okay, but it's one of those things where it's not necessarily wrong to have imperfecto or pretérito talking about this last summer. I might say, hizo mucho calor El verano de 2023 hizo mucho calor. It is not incorrect to say hacía mucho calor porque había como más de 30 días de días con temperaturas al nivel de 115 grados, 110 grados, see? There were a bunch of days in that range. You know, if I'm describing a lot about that weather, that the temperatures were high, that we had, you know, haboobs or whatever, and I go into a lot of description, imperfecto is going to work. So it's not like there's a wrong answer with that, but you're sending a signal of over and done with if you talk about just that summer versus giving a long description. I hope that makes sense. If you feel a little bit like I'm a little lost with that, that's okay. Just know that you can't really like make a mistake. You're just sending a different signal. Yeah. Of pretérito over and done. And we put an end to that summer, thank God, versus giving a longer description. Okay. So you're sending a signal of description versus now that is done and over with. Does that make a little bit of sense? See?
But not fue en era, hacer.
Yeah, right. Okay. So we have lots of verbs that we use in the past. It might be, yeah. So fue un verano horrible. It was a terrible summer. Meaning that summer is over with and gone, and we're now in fall. And I'm not saying anything more about it. Okay. Era un verano difícil. It was a difficult summer. Era un verano horrible. It was a terrible summer. And now, because you used imperfecto, somebody expects you to say more about that summer. Why was it terrible? And if all you do is say, era un verano horrible, they're kind of tapping their toe, waiting for more information. Versus just, I'm commenting that I hated the summer. Fue un verano horrible. This summer sucked, and I'm done with that. And you're not describing why, because everybody knows, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So does the listener kind of reverse engineer? Yeah. If you say, fue un verano horrible, oh, okay. They're just commenting. It was a bad one. And they don't expect to hear anything more from you. But era un verano horrible. It was a terrible summer. And well, now they expect you to describe something because of what happened, because of the weather, because of things that fell apart at your house. I don't know. Something more. They're waiting for more information with imperfecto. They're waiting for more of a description. Does that make sense a little bit? See? See? Bien. Okay. Vale. We are running low on time. So let me just show so we know where we're at. It is tricky and it is difficult. So yeah, we did not really get time to talk about this. So we will bring this to the table, because if I tell you do this in 2 minutes, man, sorry, that's not going to happen. Okay. But this might give you a better feel for, this talks more about going back to this guy's story of, he told a story in present and then past and the same story again in future. Okay. So in other words, in our conversations, we mix up our time periods all the time. And that's okay. Yeah. So, bring in a little example where maybe you mix a couple, present and past, or present and future. It can be any combination you want. You don't have to tell the same story in present and past like he did in the video, but when you look at the example. So my example was, queríamos viajar al norte para visitar los parques nacionales in Utah. We wanted to visit the parks in the north, national parks. We wanted, that's imperfecto, ¿sí? Normalmente pasamos algunos días en Moab. Normally we spend my habits, my usual habits go into presente. My usual habit goes into presente. Usually we spend some days in Moab. Pero no había ninguna habitación disponible, but there was no room available, okay, at a hotel. There was no room available. That's just description. The room didn't happen, so I can't go into past and make that pretérito talking about a room. A room is not an event. It has to be imperfecto. No había ninguna habitación disponible. There was no room available. Okay. Es aún más difícil reservar un cuarto en Zion. It is, just like the usual event, presente back to present, it's even harder to reserve a room in Zion. Not it was harder, but it is even harder to get a room in this location. ¿Sí? Porque es un destino muy popular, because it's such a popular destination. I'm just staying in presente. And now I'm talking about what I did because of the situation. Decidí, I decided. Decidí que podía buscar un hotel cerca de Capitol Reef. I decided, maybe I could look for. Decidí que podía buscar un hotel cerca de Capitol Reef. I decided that I could look for a hotel near this other place, see? Porque hay menos turistas, because there are fewer tourists there. So we often mix our present and past all the time. And that's kind of what I want you to try to get a feel for next week. And I will send you a video. I think same gal did an estaba versus estuvo. So you'll see that. Bien, to maybe help you over that hump. What I am going to tell you, and I'll add it down here right now because we're talking about it right now. If you look at the flip-flop or the ratio of how often do you hear estaba versus how often do you hear estuvo, you're going to hear estaba probably more. Just because location in the past has to use imperfecto. Okay? It just has to, because it was on the corner. Well, we don't peg that to time, really. Yeah. How somebody was feeling is usually imperfecto, and we use estar a lot for feelings. We use estar a lot for locations. So you'll probably wind up hearing estaba percentage-wise more than you hear estuvo. Okay. I'm going to give you one preview idea here. I listened to it. I was previewing a video this week of a gal, and a comment she made was, perdón, mi voz suena muy rara. Sorry, my voice sounds really weird. Porque la semana pasada estuve resfriada. Because last week I got a cold. And because she phrased that as la semana pasada estuve resfriada, tells me that this week she doesn't have a cold anymore. But last week she got a cold. And now it's over. Okay. And she didn't go into a great big long thing of how many days the cold lasted or how she felt or whether she took medicine or whether she went to the doctor. She just said, I had a cold last week. So now my voice sounds funny. So that's an example where estuve resfriada, I had a cold, meaning I got this little bug. Yeah. But most of the time, you're going to hear it used as estaba more. Okay. Vale? Bien?
Sí.
And I'll give you just a story video that has nothing to do with really necessarily grammar in any particular sense, but something new there. Okay? Todo bien?
Gracias.
Todo bien.
Gracias.
Okay. And we'll bring
Gracias.
back our present and past all mixed together for next week. Hopefully this gave you a little better idea of maybe how to approach that if you were confused by that last week. ¿Está bien?
Sí.
Vale. Bueno,
Está bien.
Muchas gracias.
fantástico. Sí,
Gracias.
entonces.